Hey everybody, welcome to What Was Mommy Thinking, or welcome back if you are already a subscriber. My name is Crystal and I am so glad that you are here. Today we are going to be doing part 3 in my freezer meal prep series. That is a new series here, and it's going to be a short series, not too long, but today we're going to go through phase 3. I will also link phases 1 and 2 throughout the video, so if you are interested in seeing what that last phase is before we actually go to the grocery stores and buy everything that we need, then stick around, get a notepad so you can take a little bit of notes, and let's get at it. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy hump day. It is my lunch break, so I am going to try very, very diligently to get this filmed so that I can edit and upload it this afternoon after I get off work. I wanted to get phase 3 up and going for you guys. A couple of things happened between when I filmed phase 2 and now, and I'm going to get into those with you here in a minute. But get yourself a piece of paper. This is an important one. There's going to be lots of information in this one. Get a little beverage and get comfy, and let's get into phase 3. So I'm going to link phase 1 and phase 2 throughout different points in this video. I don't know when, because I do that when I edit. But if you haven't watched phase 1 or phase 2, or if you need to reference them to go back so that you can start from the beginning, I will have those kind of spaced out in the video. So during phase 1, remember, we went through all of our cookbooks, we went through all of our online resources, and we created a messy master list, right? So we created a master list of all the things that we could possibly want to make, and we put it on a piece of paper. In phase 2, we did a lot of planning. We looked at our calendars, we looked at our commitments, we picked a weekend, and then we made plans for that weekend, childcare plans, freeing ourselves from any other commitments, planning in our budget and on our calendars to eat out on the day that we cook. We made all kinds of plans. So again, if you didn't see that video, I will link it somewhere in this one. As part of that, we started looking at what we might need, what resources that we have, and it's all about just starting to really think about that weekend. So now we are at phase 3. So in phase 3, that's where we take this list and we turn it into something realistic. And that is going to look different for every individual. So what is realistic for me is definitely not what's going to be realistic for someone who is just starting out or doing their first ever freezer meal weekend. So you have to be really honest with yourself about what's realistic for you, how many hours out of those days that you actually have to dedicate to this, and you don't want to overextend yourself. And what I mean by that is, if you plan something that is not realistic, a couple of things are going to happen. Number one, you're not going to enjoy this at all. So the probability of you doing it again in the future is going to be remarkably diminished because of the negative feelings associated with this time. Number 2, you're going to spend more money than you need to spend because you're going to be buying things that you don't need because you've overextended and you're not going to be able to get it done. So you're going to waste your time, you're going to waste your money, you're going to waste food, and you're going to have negative feelings associated with this. So it just kind of snowballs. You see where this is going? It just kind of snowballs into this thing that we don't want. Additionally, once you look at this and you go through and you say, I want to prioritize these things, these are the things I want to make the most, that still may not be realistic. You still may have to put it aside, come back to it a few minutes later, and whittle it down even more. So let's do that with my list. Let's take a look at this, and if we look at it, I've got 4 breakfast, 2 appetizers or sides, that's 6. I've got 5 sides, that's 11, and then I've got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. I have 34 things on this list. What I will tell you is, even for someone who's been doing this a long time, that's way too much. I mean, way too much. So I told you guys before that I was thinking of breaking this into 2 weekends, and I absolutely am going to do that. So for the first weekend, I want to go through and I want to kind of do 2 things. I want to look at the meals that have like ingredients, and that makes it easier for that cooking weekend. And I want to prioritize the things that I want to do the most, and I want some variety. Like, I want something from kind of each of the categories so that I feel like I'm putting a more diverse or a more dynamic set of dishes into my freezer. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to grab a highlighter, and I'm going to grab like a really obnoxious bright one too, not one of my pretty pastels. Let's grab something really crazy, like this orange way down here. Like, this is crazy, right? So I want to go through and I want to pick something, or I want to pick the things that are a priority for me. So in that, I'm mostly going to focus basically from here down. I still have some breakfasts in the freezer, and remember we talked about in phase 2, you do your freezer, your pantry, and your refrigerator inventories. That's all part of that planning, right? So when I went in and did my inventories, I still had a decent amount of this type of food in there. So I really want to focus kind of here down. When I'm looking at this list, we are completely out of the twice baked potatoes, but that is a very time consuming big thing. So I got, I'd like to have those, but if I can't, I can't. So the amazing mac and cheese is not a priority for me. Hash brown casserole is one of those things that I can make on the fly, so having it frozen isn't that big of a deal. But these candied carrots, this is a pretty big deal. Here's why. Number one, I haven't made these in a really long time, and they are one of my kids' absolute favorite dishes. Let me see if I can zoom you guys in a little bit. Absolutely one of my children's favorite dishes in the world, right? And they'll eat it with anything. And then when I go through looking at the main dishes, spaghetti sauce is something that I really always need to have on hand. Same with pasta shell stuffing, ground beef, green beef. Who's going to eat green beef? That's horrible. Chicken pesto parmesan shells. I'd like to have that, but I'm going to hold off. And then because it's fall and we're getting ready to go into fall season, soups and stews become a priority for me because that's something that's so easy, and for $1 I can grab a big loaf of crusty bread, thaw out some soup, and we've got a delicious homemade meal, right? So this white bean chicken chili becomes a priority for me. These hamburger patties are a priority for us to have on hand. Some marinara for either chicken parm subs or those garlic bread pizzas. That's definitely a priority. And then I definitely want to highlight these soups. Minestrone hamburger soup, sausage bean soup, navy bean bacon chowder, corn chowder, black bean and potato. Those are all a priority for me. And then when I look at the rest of this, these chocolate chip cookies are a priority for me to get made. Number one, they're low sodium for my oldest son. Number two, I package them so that all I have to do is take out one little individual package and I can throw them straight from the freezer into the oven, and they make delicious chocolate chip cookies fresh out of the oven for my kids. And I don't know about you guys, but on a chilly winter evening when you've been at a sporting event or practice, and while you're in the shower your mom makes you fresh warm baked cookies, that's life right there. That is the bomb.com. Aside from having your towel in the dryer warmed for you, or in the blanket warmer in the bathroom. Yes, they're spoiled, but they're mine. So these are the things that, to me, when I looked at my list the first time around, this became priority for me. What I did after this list was done was I went through that stack you guys saw in phase 1 of all of those like printed out recipes that I had, and I pulled everything that's not in a cookbook. So every recipe that I want to make that's not in a cookbook, and I just paper clipped them together. So here's where I stuck those. And this French onion beef casserole, this is a family favorite. It's something that my kids will eat every single time, so I pulled that. This Doritos casserole, another family favorite, so I pulled that. This bacon cheeseburger tater tot casserole. All right, so I don't know how many of you guys watch Mandy in the Making, but she is one of my favorite channels to watch. I watch her religiously. I get a ton of tips and ideas from her. She does what she calls a subby supper. I will do my best to leave her channel linked in the description box below. Big shout out to Mandy. She's phenomenal. Her husband, her son, great people. This was one of her subby suppers. That's where her subscribers send in a dish and she and her family try it. This bacon cheeseburger tater tot casserole sounded good. It got rave reviews from her and her family. I tried it. My family went 8 bananas over it. So this is an absolute must in our household. We're completely out of them, and my boys remind me all the time that I need to make more of these. Then one of our favorite soups or stew type dishes is white bean chicken chili. I have done this as a cook with me. I will remember to link it up somewhere eye in the sky or in the description box. This is a fantastic meal. It freezes beautifully, goes straight from your freezer into your slow cooker, reheats perfectly. It's thick, it's hearty, and it's relatively healthy. And then this is the recipe for the candied carrots. I have had this recipe for almost 17 years. It's printed on this funky paper. You can see it's stained and waterlogged because I have made this over and over and over. So, as you can see, a double recipe of this makes 2 cups. And I put it in one of those cylinder containers or in a half-gallon Ziploc freezer bag. This is a family favorite. So after I have done this, I've prioritized what I want to cook. I've pulled the rest of my recipes. It is now time to make that realistic list. For me, I know that if I go much past 12 to 15 is kind of my max for a weekend. So I took all of this information and I started my lists. And the way that I normally do it and what I normally use for it is not what I did this time. And the reason why is because my very, very dear, sweet, and talented friend Shannon over at Kitchen Shenanigans just recently started her Etsy shop and started making some PDFs in relation to meal planning and meal prepping, and I wanted to show support for her and for her shop and for her channel. So I purchased her PDF and I'm using it for this freezer meal session, and I want to share it with you guys. So this is the PDF that Shannon developed, and I think she did a really, really great job on it. Let me flip this page here, you guys, so that I can do this. I think she did a great, great job. So on these pages, you're going to see that you can fit 5 of them to a page, the name of the meal, what steps you can take ahead of time, so as far as prep goes, what ingredients I have on hand, what ingredients I need to purchase, what supplies I need, whether I need to purchase them or not. So if I'm making a double recipe of this, what's my meat or my protein, and then what am I going to put it in? Ziploc bags, disposable pans, any of that. So I'm going to bring this down and really zoom in for you guys. so that you can see just a couple of these. So my French onion beef casserole, I can brown the ground beef, cook the noodles, and chop the onions ahead of time. These are the ingredients that off of that recipe that I have on hand, and I literally sit with every recipe and go line by line. I go in my pantry, I look at my freezer, fridge, and pantry inventory. I go line by line. My protein, because I am doubling this recipe, I'm going to need 2 pounds of ground beef. What I need to purchase is 24 ounces of French onion dip, 1 onion, 20 ounces of frozen green beans, and 20 ounces of egg noodles. These are the items that will go on my actual grocery list. And then for supplies, I need 2 disposable 13 by 9 pans, saran wrap, aluminum foil, and my label. I do the same thing for every single recipe. Doritos Casserole, I can dice the onion and brown the ground beef. These are the things that I have. This is the meat that I need. These are the items I need to purchase and the supplies that I will need to finish it and get it in the freezer. Then I did the bacon cheeseburger tater tot casserole. And I'll zoom you guys out and I'll very quickly go through the other things that I decided to make on my first weekend. So, minestrone hamburger soup, that's in a cookbook. Sausage bean soup. Navy bean bacon chowder. Corn chowder. Black bean and potato soup. Instant Pot white bean chicken chili. So when you look at this, you go, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 soups. So if I make a double batch of 6 different soups, then I know that I will pretty much have enough soup to last us until the holidays. I'm going to double each of these casseroles, so that's going to give me 6 casseroles. And then we get into, I'm going to make hamburger patties. If you guys have ever watched my Set Yourself Up for Success videos, you know that I make a from scratch, sodium-free French fry seasoning. It's called the Best Ever French Fry Seasoning. I mix it with some very low sodium Worcestershire sauce and ground beef, and I make hamburger patties. I will individually patty those out, put them on a parchment lined sheet pan and flash freeze them, and then I will put the liners between them and freeze them in certain quantities for us to eat. That allows me to pick the level of leanness that I want in our hamburger patties and to season them in a way that everybody in my family can eat with their dietary restrictions. It'll be gluten-free, it'll be low sodium, and it'll be delicious. So after that, we get to my browned ground beef. We talked about this in my last video for phase 2. I will take ground beef. Some of it I will add chopped onion to, some of it I will not. I will brown it in 2-pound increments. Those 2-pound increments will get put into rolls, 3 of those rolls in one bag. So I will need 12 pounds of ground beef to do 6 of those rolls. Next is the pasta shell stuffing mix. I have also done this one as an independent cook with me on my channel. I will do my best to remember to link it here. If I don't, I will put it in the description box for you guys. Again, I can brown that ground beef and shred the cheese for it. These are the things that I have. These are the things that I need. I store it in those clear plastic tub containers, and it's perfect. It thaws quickly. I can throw it in some stuffed shells with my homemade marinara sauce, and it is amazing. The next is my meat sauce, or Italian gravy, or spaghetti sauce, or whatever it is that you want to call it. This is something I cannot run out of. This is something that when I make it, it does not last us very long at all. I just made a double batch last week. We're down to, I think, 2 servings of it left. Candied Carrots is that recipe you guys saw, the very weathered paper. I want to do an entire 6 pounds of carrots of this recipe, which will give us about 3 to 4 side dishes of this recipe. Everybody loves it. It's gluten-free. It's low sodium. Fantastic. The chocolate chip cookies, that is a huge batch. I package them in the freezer bags in little tiny portions to make, anywhere from 6 to 9 cookies. So each kid gets 2 to 3 fresh, warm baked cookies, and I will store those in the freezer. So those are the 15 things that I have decided to make on the first weekend. what I will do as I get closer, you guys can see, let me see if I can zoom you guys in on this bottom one. You guys are going to see that I've taken my book and I've, on the margin here, I wrote cook first, which means that this soup has to be cooked before I can freeze it. Some of these other ones, like this minestrone hamburger soup, once I do this prep, then and I forgot to write brown the ground beef. Oh no, I'm sorry, this is one that you don't. You can if you want to. We'll get into that when we freeze or cook. But this is what they call a dump and go meal. This is where you put all of the ingredients in the Ziploc bag, squeeze the air out, put it in the freezer, and you forget about it until it's the night before that you want to make it. Put it in the fridge, let it thaw out a little bit, and then it goes in your slow cooker just as a dump meal. So this requires no upfront cooking. All of my casseroles have to be cooked ahead of time. So I didn't write cook first on them just because I know casseroles have to be cooked and prepped ahead of time. But with the soups, I like to know which ones I need to cook first. So this one has to be cooked first. This one has to be cooked first. The rest of these are absolute dump and go. So that makes me know, or that helps me to know which ones are going to take up the majority of my time and which ones I can do super quick. I tend to front load. So I do the things that require me to cook or take more time or more planning earlier in the day and save the easier stuff for the end of the day when I'm starting to get tired and fatigued and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to finish this, I'm not going to get done, because then you have more successes at a faster pace towards your end of your day. So that's here, and then on this next page, I tend to look at things and so what I'll do as it gets closer is everything that I have to brown ground beef for, I'm going to do it all at once, and I'm going to do it on the day that I prep and chop all of my veggies and get everything laid out. And that's usually the day before I do the mass cooking. So now that I have completed phase 1, I've completed phase 2, I've made my list realistic, and I have mapped out all of the meals on that realistic list with how I can prep it, what I have, what I need, how I'm going to freeze it, and what my meat or my protein is, so that when I go through to quickly group these together and put order to that day, it's all mapped out. You would think that we're done with phase 3 here, but oh, wait, there's more. If you order today, no, seriously, it's not an infomercial. We are almost done with phase 3. The only thing left to do in phase 3 is to make our grocery list and make our labels for our food containers where we're going to store this. Remember, I told you guys before, I've been making my own labels for my freezer stuff for a long time and putting it on that Avery paper, printing it out, hand cutting it, and all of that before I got my Cricut. Since I got my Cricut, I do this. So these are just super, super simple little things. So for my soups, I don't need to know how to reheat those. I already know. You throw everything in the slow cooker, you turn it on low, you come back later with a hungry belly and some bread, right? So for my soups, you'll see labels just like that. My black bean, my corn chowder, my navy bean bacon, my sausage bean soup. For my casseroles, you see if I can get this to focus in. For my casseroles, I put the name of the casserole and then I put the instructions. Thaw it overnight, sprinkle a cup of French fried onions on top, bake it at 350 for 40 minutes until done. The Doritos Casserole, I'm going to put Doritos on it, cook it covered for 20 or 30 or whatever it is at 350. Take the foil off, cook another 20 minutes. For my bacon cheeseburger tater tot casserole, I'm going to bake it at 450 for 30 minutes. Sprinkle it with a cup of cheese and some crumbled bacon. Bake for another 10 minutes. So these go directly onto those dishes so that when I pull them out, I don't have to think about it, because I should not trust myself to remember anything. So these are those, and I just printed out the ones that apply to the stuff that I have on this meal plan. So again, white bean chicken chili, pasta shell stuffing, candied carrots, chocolate chip cookies. I don't need instructions for any of these dishes. This is a simple reheat. This is shove it in a shell, put some sauce on it and bake it. This is another soup that you just reheat and eat. Chocolate chip cookies, we all know how to bake chocolate chip cookies. Same thing goes for my brown ground beef, my gravy, and my marinara. I don't need instructions on how to prepare these. I've been doing it for so long, I don't need to know. And I always know, see, it says there's a little line that says how many pounds it is. I almost always do 2 pounds, so most of these I will just take a Sharpie and write a 2. But if I get an odd number of pounds in those big rolls of ground beef and I end up with 1 pound instead of 2 that I brown up, that's my opportunity to mark that. So those are my stickers. I have printed those out and I've got all of my recipes. So my stickers are going to go in this pocket. My recipes are going to get paper clipped right here to back on here. And the last thing that there is to do is to make your grocery shopping list. Now, if you are one of those people that lives in a certain area and you've only got one option for all of your grocery shopping, then this part's so super easy because you're just gonna make your list, right? You're gonna go and you're gonna go through all of the things where it says I need, and you're gonna make a grocery list. I highly, highly recommend categorizing that grocery list by I usually use the categories of dairy and canned goods and grains, pastas and rices, dry ingredients, frozen foods, meats, and produce. And that's kind of my categories for how I organize my list. Because I am blessed to live in an area with multiple options for shopping, I like to price compare. If you guys have ever watched any of my low-income grocery shopping and meal plan videos, then you know I pull the screens up on my computer and I price compare between different stores. So I went through what I need and made a master list on my computer, just in a Microsoft Word document, which most people have. And then I pulled up Kroger, Walmart, and Sam's, and I searched every single item. There are a couple of items off of my list that I can only get at Sprouts because they are the only retailer that offers those options in low or very low or no salt added varieties. But for other people without that dietary restriction in their family, it wouldn't be an issue. These are common ingredients you should be able to get everywhere. So after I do that, I just make a table in Word. This is not fancy. This is not Excel. This is not Canva. This is literally a table in Word. Those categories that I just discussed with you. So this is dairy. These are the ingredients that I have noted as a need on my list. I've price compared them and then I've highlighted where I'm going to purchase that from because of the price. Here's my disclaimer about Sam's Club. Sam's Club, the butter is definitely cheaper there, but if I don't need a lot of butter, I'm going to pay a little bit more to get one of something than to get a ton of it because of the possibility of ending up having to waste food. I will spend 50 to 75 cents more for an item if it means that I'm not going to waste a bunch of it. So at Sam's, I'm going to get my butter, my mozzarella, my cheddar, my ricotta, and my Parmesan cheeses. All of that coming from Sam's. My cream cheese, my French onion dip, my sour cream, my American cheese, and this small container of ricotta because I needed a certain amount will come from Walmart. Kroger did not win any of the dairy pricing. So when it came to price comparisons, Sam's and Walmart took the cake on that. So when it comes to the grocery aisle items, so these are your grains, pastas, rices, your dry goods, that sort of stuff. Walmart kind of came in the lead because they have the unsalted beef broth, the gluten-free cream and mushroom, the I'm going to get my navy beans at Kroger. I didn't highlight that. Egg noodles, dill pickles, black beans. I will get my Doritos at Sam's Club and at Kroger. Oh, look, Kroger did come in because they were the only one that had Romano cheese. Kroger, I will get my low sodium cream of mushroom soup because, again, when it's blank like this, that means it's not available at that retailer. So that's the only place I can purchase that, and that's what I'll do there. Down here at the bottom are the Great Northern and butter beans are from Sprouts, and the tomato puree with no salt added. All of that has to come from Sprouts. That's why it's this hot pink color. Then when we move on to the other categories, my no salt added crushed tomatoes, my Rotel no salt added tomato paste, and my dark brown sugar, all from Walmart. Chocolate chips from Sam's, and then my frozen items are all coming from Walmart. My produce is a mix between the three, and as you can see, the turnip that I need for one of my soups is only available at Kroger. And then for my meats, kielbasa, bacon, chicken breast, diced ham, my ground beef, definitely coming from Sam's Club for $3.54 a pound for 90% lean. It's in that huge roll of like 10 or 11 pounds. And then my freezer bags are coming from Sam's Club. I already have the foil pans. I already have heavy duty aluminum foil. All I really needed in the way of storage were those gallon freezer storage bags. So this is what I do, and then when I'm done my price comparison and every item that I have listed as an ingredient that I need, I go over here and I make my grocery list by store. So because I've got 3 stores listed and I don't have the desire or time I've got a column for Aldi and I've got a column for Winco, and at some point in time I do want to fill those in. Right now it's just not the right time for me, you guys. It just isn't. What I'm going to do is make it work with these 3 stores. I'm going to make a store list for Walmart, I'm going to make a store list for Sam's, and I'm going to make a store list for Kroger. I'm going to write the item and the quantity, and at the end of the movie how much I spent so that I can track that for this freezer meal session. And I'm just going to go through, and everything that's highlighted for Walmart will go here. Sam's Club will go here. Kroger will go here. Those are going to be my master lists. I don't know yet whether I will be shopping in person. Most likely I will, because when it comes to freezer cooking, you really don't want to have to deal with out of stocks or substitutions. You want to be able to get what you need at the time that you need it. If you've got plenty of planning time, things like these pantry staples, if you have time to do a second order or can throw it in next week's grocery order and try again, that works just fine as well. So my plan will be to get these items transferred over to these grocery lists, and then I will either do online shopping or I will go in person to each of these 3 stores, and I will do it all at the same time. Let me tell you why. I'm going to take a Friday and I'm going to do all 3 of these. And the reason that I am is because if I go to Walmart and they're out of something, I'm going to try and get it at Sam's or Kroger so that I know at the end of this day I have everything I need, so that on Saturday I can do all of my prep, chop all of my veggies, and get everything ready so that on Sunday I'm doing nothing but cooking and freezing. So that is how I do phase 3. As you can tell, the very next thing that we're going to do, so spoiler alert, phase 4 is actually doing the grocery shopping. I'm going to share that with you guys. I'm going to make these lists. I'm going to look for coupons. I'm going to look for digital coupons. I'm going to look for Ibotta rebates and try and maximize how much I get for my money and spend as little out of pocket as possible on my freezer meal cooking sessions and use up as much stuff as I have on hand. One tip that I'm going to give you guys is when you're making your lists of your meals and what you have and what you need, if something that you have is kind of a hot item that you use a lot in your household and you want to mark it or reserve it for your freezer meal cooking sessions, take it out, hide it, put it in a box, put it in like a storage tote or something that you're putting stuff in for freezer cooking, so that when it comes to the day of, you didn't have it on your I already have list and it all of a sudden became a need that you didn't buy because it wasn't on that column when you did it. Just a tip from somebody that's done that way too many times with things like, oh crap, I don't know, Doritos, tater tots, beef broth, those sorts of things. So make sure that if it's something that you have and you're marking it for freezer cooking, that it's still going to be there when you get to that weekend. So that is it for phase 3, you guys. We are at the point now where we do the grocery shopping and start getting ready for that weekend. So that is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I had hoped to do my first weekend of freezer cooking this coming weekend, which is July the 17th and 18th, right? However, if you've been watching my channel for some time, you guys have known that there is a great possibility that I would need to leave and make a trip back home to Florida on a sooner than later kind of basis, and that time has come. So I am going to be away for probably 7 to 12 days. And that will, I won't be leaving until next week, but I do need this weekend to get ready to go and get my kids ready and all of the things that I need to do for my family. And so I will not be doing that first weekend of freezer meal cooking this weekend. However, I have set a new goal of doing that the weekend that I get back. So the first weekend that I am actually physically back in Texas, and this is only if nothing changes. If something changes while I'm there, I will try and leave an update for you guys or post it over on my Instagram. But as of right now, my plan is for the first weekend in August. Now, August the 1st is a Sunday, so I'm talking about the weekend of the 7th and the 8th. And the 7th is my husband's birthday. So I want to try and be really sensitive to that. And plus I will just be getting back home. So the next weekend, which is the 14th and the 15th, that will be the weekend that I do weekend number 1 of the freezer meal cooking. Then my goal will be to do weekend number 2 either the last weekend in August or the first weekend in September. I still want to have all of this stuff done, everything you saw on that master list. I think there was like 34. I still want to have all of that done by the beginning of September-ish, right? I have to be a little flexible. So that is the goal. Those are my tentative dates. If you have any questions or you have any comments about any of this, please leave it in the comments section below. If you need any help with meal ideas or recipes, then let me know that as well. Phase 4 is going to be our grocery shopping and planning out our prep day, and I'm going to show you guys how to group things and how to do the more labor-intensive stuff at the beginning of the day versus the end of the day. We're going to get it all done. You guys are going to be amazed at how much this helps you. And if you have a positive experience doing it your first time, you're much more likely to continue to try and do it. So let me know in the comment section below how I can make this a positive experience for you and for your family, and what tips and tricks I didn't disclose that you're wondering about, or anything that you want me to include in the phase 4 video. I may already have it on my list, but I may not, so let me know. Until next time, everybody, thank you again so very much for being here. Please make sure to give this video a like, a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care of yourselves, be well, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.